Today, we're going to be comparing the brand new Peloton guide with the Tempo Move. We'll be comparing the difference between their value and their cost, the tech that is included with the two, the class memberships, and at the end, as somebody who regularly uses both the Tempo and Peloton, I'm going to give you my suggestions on which one would be best for you. Now, this comparison isn't going to be really geared towards those of you who are already all-access Peloton members, paying either $39 or $44 per month, as I know many of you probably aren't going to be super interested in something like the Tempo Move, where you'll have to pay an additional monthly membership. So this comparison is really designed for those of you who are trying to add some strength work at home, but are having a hard time deciding between the Peloton guide and the Tempo Move. My name is Colin with Connect the Watts, and if this all sounds good to you, hit that like button and let's get started. So first things first, let's compare the value proposition that each of these connected fitness products provide. The Peloton guide costs $295 and comes with an HD camera, HDMI cable, power cord, magnetic stand, and remote. The Tempo Move costs $395. It does require that you have your own iPhone and comes with two high-quality 7.5-pound Olympic dumbbells, two sets of 5-pound plates, two sets of 2.5-pound plates, two sets of 1.25-pound plates, two sets of collars. Also included is a weight container that everything is stored in, as well as the core, which is what the phone plugs into and can be moved away from the weight container if you prefer to have it somewhere else. And while we'll talk more about their memberships in a moment, just know that the Peloton guide cannot be used without a Peloton membership. So in terms of actual value, it's not even very close. The high quality equipment and storage container that comes with the Tempo Move pretty much justifies the price on its own, whereas with the Peloton guide, in terms of what it comes with, has very little. That said, let's talk about the tech between the two. Now, the Peloton guide uses its camera to have a movement tracker, which essentially makes sure that you are still alive and moving during the workouts. And you get credit for moving during about 80% of each set. Additionally, you are placed onto the screen in one of several viewing options to help you be able to visually compare your form with the instructors. Also here is the ability to see the movements coming up and a countdown, as well as have your heart rate displayed on the screen. Now with the Tempo Move, their tech is significantly more advanced than this. It can track your reps, give you an average time per rep completed. It automatically tracks the weight you are using for each set and keeps track of those weights for you for all movements, so that the next time that movement shows up, it can give you a good, decent starting weight depending on how many reps you're going to be asked to do. The Tempo Move can also provide form feedback on your movements, like your squat depth and some other faults, but to be fair, this currently is pretty limited as well, so I wouldn't get the Tempo Move for the form correction alone. It's just a nice additional feature that you might occasionally find useful, and it has been getting better on a fairly regular basis. Also, one additional note here is the leaderboard. Because the Tempo Move is able to track your reps and weights, there is an optional leaderboard during classes that'll show you how you are doing relative to everyone else. This can be viewed by volume, meaning your score includes both your reps and weights as part of its equation, or the leaderboard can be viewed by just reps, which is a bit better for those maybe newer to lifting and don't really want to have to compare their weights with others. Personally, I'm not a very big leaderboard guy when it comes to strength workouts, since I feel like it encourages the wrong sort of mentality for that sort of training. However, for the conditioning focused classes, I really like it because it keeps me motivated to try to get the highest score possible and to squeak out every last burpee or squat. Now on the Peloton guide, they do have a leaderboard as well so that you can see other people are taking the class with you, but outside of that, it really doesn't have any purpose or function. Okay, so now let's talk about the differences in their class options and memberships. Now in terms of content, Peloton provides a ton of daily new strength classes, usually around 4 live classes per day and around 30 total on-demand classes per week. While they tend to be shorter bite-sized 10 to 30-minute workouts, they do usually have 2 or so each week that are around 45 or 60 minutes long. The Tempo Move definitely has less content here, with only about 2 live classes per day and maybe around 20 new on-demand classes per week. So in terms of the amount of new content, they don't provide quite as much, although their classes do on average tend to be a bit longer and more thorough. Now, probably the biggest difference between the Tempo Move and the Peloton guide are their class styles. With Peloton, you're never really sure exactly what you're going to be getting out of a strength class. Even with the addition of their new movement previews, you really won't know if the class is designed more for hypertrophy or for strength or power development or for muscle endurance and conditioning. And usually with Peloton, since their classes are a bit faster paced with less rest, they tend to focus a lot more on conditioning rather than actual strength training. With the Tempo Move, you can also see the movements beforehand, but they do a bit of a better job letting you know if it's more of a HIIT type workout or a strength or hypertrophy workout. And herein lies a really big difference, because the coaches and programs on Tempo feel much more like being in an actual strength and conditioning gym or class, and the training principles that they use, as well as the reps and rests and pairing of movements, just make a lot more sense. Whereas with Peloton, it feels more about throwing stuff together for a fun, quick burn. For example, on Peloton, it's very rare to see rests as long as 2 minutes, whereas you'll see that quite often here on some of the workouts with Tempo. Now, I understand that some people may not personally prefer that, but it's hard to argue that you would get better results following Peloton strength classes versus Tempos. Now, both the Peloton Guide and Tempo Move offer a variety of class options like shadowboxing, yoga, mobility, and others. Again, Peloton offers a bit more content here, whereas Tempo offers a bit more in-depth content, especially around mobility. Typically, Peloton's mobility classes are very quick moving from one thing to another, which is great for post-workout recovery, but not so good for gaining new mobility or range of motion. Whereas Tempo provides a bit more specific mobility instruction to make more improvements in those areas. Now, the one big thing that you get with Peloton that you won't with Tempo is a huge selection of very high quality bike and treadmill workouts. So if you have a bike or treadmill that you would also like to take classes with, then you'll probably get a lot of additional value with that Peloton membership. And in terms of memberships, the cost for both are pretty close to the same. The membership for the Tempo Move currently being $39 per month, and the membership for the Tempo Guide being $44 per month starting in 2023. For the rest of 2022, the membership for the Peloton Guide has been discounted down to a monthly cost of $24. Now here's the deal and my suggestions. I personally actually really enjoy Peloton and really enjoy Tempo, and I'm fortunate enough to be able to have memberships to them both. But in terms of the actual Peloton Guide versus Tempo Move, I think it's pretty obvious that at this point, the Peloton Guide is a pretty poorly thought out product. Now, for all I know, it might be a whole lot better in the future with more updates, but as it is, even the most hardcore Peloton fans are struggling to understand the value that the Peloton Guide provides. So the only reason I could imagine somebody choosing the Peloton Guide over the Tempo Move is if they're already an all-access member, or if they also really want to use those bike and treadmill classes. If you just want strength or bodyweight conditioning or yoga or boxing classes, then getting the Tempo Move is a hands-down no-brain decision. Not only does the content make more sense in terms of that type of training, but also the product itself is way more valuable than the Peloton Guide, which is essentially just a camera which most people have with their own phone. Now, unfortunately, the Tempo Move at this time can only be used with iPhones, but from what I understand, they are making it Android compatible before the end of the year. Now, if you want to learn more about my thoughts about either of these products, I did reviews for both of them, which you can watch here. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe for more content just like this. See you next time.